Hello and welcome back to the Wasteland, everybody. Welcome back to Fallout New Vegas, where today we're going to be doing another tier list of New Vegas. And this has been by far the most requested tier list I've had in a very long time. And I don't know why you guys wanted it so much, but we're going to be doing it today. This is all of the Fallout New Vegas junk, and we're going to be ranking all of it. I'm not even kidding that this was the most requested of any of the tier lists that I've made since I started making tier lists for Fallout New Vegas. Outside of the original ones that I did that were on perks, on weapons, on armor. Yeah, I don't even think armor was as popular as just junk. Can you rank all of the junk items? So today we're going to rank all the junk items. Well, at least most of the junk items. Some of the items I have here as duplicates, because there's no reason for me to have 5 or 6 different pool balls on here when they're all exactly the same besides the way that they look. So, and also any sort of one-of-a-kind quest items that only go for a quest and you can't really do anything else with them, with some exception here. So we'll talk about all of these. So strap on in because we've got a lot to talk about. We should also go over all of the tiers that we have this time because these are not normal tiers. These are not the S to D tier. First up, we have one of a kind. These are one of a kind items that you can only get, and you might want to keep them as souvenirs. That's usually what I do. There is no price that can be paid for these. These are my items to keep, basically. Or at least I'm going to keep one of these. Then we have the money makers. These ones are things that you're going to get if you want to cash them in for, well, actual money. They might be something worthwhile picking up. They're useful junk in that regard. Then we've got the Wasteland Classics. That one will become apparent once we get through it. We've got the crafting tier, which is basically all the items you want for some sort of crafting or can be used for crafting. So you might want to stockpile them for one reason or another. And then we have the total junk tier at the bottom. These are basically garbage items that you want to avoid. There's no real reason to take them. Let's talk about each of these. Very first up, we got the NCR Money. So we've got a $5, a $20, and a $100 from the NCR. These are not actually worth 5, 10, and 20 caps. It's a different exchange rate. And for the exchange rate, a $5 is worth 2 caps, a $20 is worth 8 caps, and a $100 is worth 40 caps. So they aren't necessarily worth a whole bunch, but it is still money. It doesn't weigh anything. You can hold on to it. These ones are absolutely going to go into the moneymaker tier. You always want to see money like this, and same thing goes with the Legion coins. However, they have a better exchange rate, at least for coin to coin compared to dollar, and they also have another use once we get to there. Up next, we have all of the various pool balls. So this covers just the regular pool ball, the cue ball, and all the other numbers ones, which there isn't actually all numbers that you would find in a pool set. There's numbers 10, 13, 2, 5, and 8. None of these do anything. There's no unique version of this like there was in Fallout 3 where you could find the lucky 8 ball and it would actually give you +1 luck for holding onto it. These are just total junk. They're not worth anything. Don't pick them up unless you're just collecting them for the sake of collecting, like I know a lot of people like to do in these games. The next item is the Abraxo Cleaner. This one actually does have some use. This one only weighs 1, so it's not that heavy. You can craft with it. You can craft quite a few different things. You can craft clean versions of the Knife Spear and the Cosmic Knife. You can also craft nuka grenades, so that's pretty cool. You might want to keep these, because if you do have Mad Bomber, you can make something out of them, so I'm putting them in the crafting tier. Then we have the acoustic guitar. This one has to be a one-of-a-kind, even though there's technically, I believe, 2 of these that you can find, because there's one in Dead Money and there is one in the Wasteland. You have to steal the one in the Wasteland. The one in Dead Money you can get completely for free. This is just one of those items that I take just so that I can take it. It's not really actually worth all that much. It's worth $50 and it weighs 3, so it's not that great, but hey, it's a one-of-a-kind item and I can store it in my house or I can put it on display somewhere in my house, so perfect. And then we've got the ashtrays. Ashtrays are literally everywhere in the Wasteland, and they have absolutely no use to them. You can't even give these to Muggy or anything, so yeah, these are going to go into the total junk. You don't want to be picking up ashtrays. They're just not worth anything. They're kind of weighty, and they're not good enough to be a Wasteland Classic, because you find them everywhere. Nobody wants to be the weirdo collecting ashtrays. At least I don't think you want to be. Then we've got the Bark Scorpion Venom Gland. So this one, like a lot of the various venom glands, or poison glands as they're called in the game, you can make them into some sort of venom to put onto your weapon. This is no exception. This one has 3 that you can make out of it. So you've got the Bleak Venom, you've got Mother Darkness, and you've got the Silver Sting. Each of these deal damage over time as well as apply other effects to the enemy. You can apply this to, I believe, any unarmed or melee weapon. I'm pretty sure you can apply it to any unarmed and melee weapon. I'm actually not entirely certain about that now because I don't know if you can apply this to boxing tape or something, but maybe? I've never tried that before. It's usually been on an actual bladed weapon. Either way, it's a craftable item. So if you see a bunch of bark scorpions, you can grab these. Bark scorpions also, interestingly enough, have the most potent venom out of any of the scorpions or any of the venomous creatures, where it deals the most amount of damage over time out of any of them, at least per sting. Things like Cazadors can sting you multiple times, so that it can stack up, and that can be bad. Up next, we got the baseball glove. Baseball glove is basically junk as well. You can't turn it into anything. It weighs something. It's not worth a whole lot, so it's going to total junk. Baseball, same thing. It doesn't really count for anything. It's not like in Fallout 4 where you can turn this into actual baseball grenades, which is kind of cool. In Fallout New Vegas, not so much. Same thing goes with basketball. You can't turn that into grenades in 4, but that'd be kind of cool too. But also, it just doesn't really fit there, so it's going to go into the total junk tier too. Nothing really to talk about with the total junk tier in general, because they are just kind of garbage items that don't really go for anything. Out next, we got bent tin cans. And bent tin cans these are absolute garbage, because unlike non-bent tin cans, so just regular tin cans, you can't use these for just about anything. You can't use them in like the junk rounds. You can't use them to make explosives. You can use them in a couple of quests like dealing with Contreras, because at least part of that could require something like bent tin cans to be of some value. So it does kind of have that going for it. But I don't know why there's a difference between this, and I don't know why there isn't a way to turn bent tin cans into just regular tin cans. Even if it took you like 2 bent cans to make into a regular tin can, that would make them so much better, because then you could actually make things out of them. You could actually make explosives and stuff. So yeah, these things, total junk. Don't take the bent tin can. Look for the superior non-bent tin can, I guess. Then we've got a big spoon, which, I mean, if anything is going to be a Wasteland Classic, the big spoon has to be a Wasteland Classic. It doesn't actually do anything, nor is it worth very much. But, I mean, if I see a big spoon, I'm going to take it and I'm going to add it to my collection. There's no contest in my brain about that. Then we've got bobby pins. I mean, bobby pins are money makers all the way. Bobby pins don't weigh anything and they let you actually lockpick. So they can get you unique gear. They can get you a whole bunch of cash. They can get you through doors. They can get you behind the enemy so you can shoot them in the back and steal their gear. You're going to make money if you have bobby pins, so they go into the moneymaker. Then we've got the bone saw, which the bone saw actually can be used in a quest. Aside from that, it's not really used for anything. Well, that's not technically true, because in another quest, you can actually kind of use it to actually cut off people's limbs and provide amputations for them. So there is that going for it, I guess, but this thing's heavy. And it isn't worth very much, so this is also going to go to total junk, although definitely should have been converted into a weapon in New Vegas, and I'm pretty sure I've seen several mods that convert the bone saw into a weapon. Then we've got bottle caps. I mean, bottle caps are your money. You can actually make these into explosives too, so they could be useful in crafting as well, which is nice. But the more caps you have, the more rich you are, the more things you can buy, the better the game experience is when you're rich, so they're going right up into the moneymaker tier. I'm also not really going to organize these tiers in any particular order either, because I don't really see... I guess cap is more valuable than the cash, but one cap isn't, so I don't know. And then we've got a box of detergent, which boxes of detergent can actually be useful. You can actually use them in crafting. I always forget about this because they can only be used to make homemade fuel, which is garbage. Homemade fuel for like the flamethrower and stuff makes it so you get exactly the same damage as regular flamethrower fuel, but it breaks your weapon 3 times faster, so you never want to use it. You can also use it to make a drug called Rocket, which is kind of cool. It's basically jet with a higher addiction rate, I believe. So that's something. It's going to go into the crafting, although it's not a very great craftable, because again, you're just going to make it into drugs, or you're going to make it into garbage ammo that I would more likely sell than actually use in any of my weapons. Maybe if I had a flare gun, because I'm not going to be using it very often, then it would be okay, but even then, it can break that super fast too. Then we've got a Brahmin Skull. Brahmin Skull goes right up into Wasteland Classics. That is one of like the most classic things to collect in a Bethesda game. Random animal skulls and stuff, and put them around your house. So even though it's not very practical and it's not worth anything and it doesn't go to anything, you can't craft anything out of it, it makes an awesome decoration, so it has to go into the Wasteland Classic tier. That's the only place it could go. Then we've got the butter knife. Butter knives are actually pretty common. You find them all over the place, and if you want to, you can turn these into scrap metal. And scrap metal is actually probably one of the best junk items in the game, so this one's going to go up into crafting, funny enough. Up next, we've got the camera. The camera can't actually be used for anything in New Vegas, sadly. You can find these all over the place, and they do look pretty cool. I like this look of a camera. It's pretty interesting. It definitely looks like from the 1940s, 1950s, which, I mean, awesome for that to be in Fallout, since it is kind of a retro futuristic, so why not have the cameras look retro? This actually doesn't do anything though. In Fallout 3 you could use these because you could actually give them to somebody and just get money from them. New Vegas has no use for these besides the actual unique camera that you get from Michelangelo, which is used for just taking pictures and scaring random people because it still counts as like a gun clicking. Yeah, this thing's total junk, unfortunately. The Kodiak 9000, I think that's what it's called, is a whole lot better than this. This one is just, Sadly, there's no use for it, which you'd think there would be, even to break it down into something else. Then we've got a carton of smokes. Cartons of smokes are definitely money makers. These are things that you want to grab, especially into the early game. Cartons of smokes are worth a lot of money. They don't weigh very much. They weigh like 2, and it's basically just free cash. So carry it around, sell it to Chet or to whoever you can at the start. You can get some money from it. Up next, we have the Caravan Deck. The Caravan Deck is a one-of-a-kind thing. Most people either love or hate Caravan, or don't understand it. I guess those are the 3 things. Either you love it because it can be a pretty fun game, and once you get the hang of it, it can be pretty interesting to play, and it's not super difficult, at least if you use some simple strategies. Or it's confusing, and you don't understand what the heck is going on, and sometimes you win, and a lot of times you lose. That can also happen, as well as maybe you don't even know what the cards do. Or you absolutely hate it because you think it's kind of a silly game and it takes forever to play and it's just not worth as much as like blackjack or slots or roulette or something. Either way, you can keep adding to this, which is pretty awesome. You get the Caravan Deck early on. Ringo gives it to you in Good Springs, so long as you do his quest. Or I guess if you just talk to him. I don't even think you have to do his quest. I think you just have to talk to him about Caravan and he'll give you this, which is awesome. And then you can play different people. You can also make your own deck from all the cards that you find, and traveling merchants tend to sell different cards. Always be on the lookout for like 10s, 6s, sometimes 9s and 7s, and then like jacks and kings. That's all you really need. Queens, jokers, aces, not so much. Aces are okay. Queens are kind of garbage. Jokers, I still have no idea what they do. So the others are kind of useful. And then we've got a dinner plate. Dinner plate does nothing, so it's going into total junk. Chessboard also does nothing, so it's also going into total junk. These aren't even worth very much. I mean, the chessboard, you could argue, at least makes for good decoration. So maybe it belongs in the Wasteland Classic tier. Same thing goes with the camera. Maybe these ones do because at least they're stylish and you can decorate your home with. And they're not like the baseball or the basketball that will kind of roll away and be awkward when you're trying to place them. These ones at least will stay in place, so maybe we'll move them up later. Then we've got cigarettes. Cigarettes you can just find and they don't weigh anything and they're worth at least 1 cap, so they are money makers all the way. I mean, if you're going to be in the wasteland, look out for things that will kill you, whether it be a long, painful death like dying from smoking, or whether it be a quick, painful death like getting stabbed. Either way, it's probably worth a decent amount, so you might as well take it. Up next, we've got all of the cases of ammo and just the ammo casings themselves. So this covers a whole bunch of them. Basically, every bullet will leave you a case, or can potentially leave you a case when you're firing it, and then you can reload these cases into either the standard rounds, which already come with the weapon, or you can change them into some other rounds, especially if you have a perk like hand loader. This one is pretty good. This one's actually really useful, so I'm going to put it in the crafting tier. Depends on what you want, and certain ammo types can break down into others. For example, you can get a bunch of 5mm rounds, break them down, and turn them into 5.56 rounds, assuming that you have the cases for them, because they almost take the exact amount of stuff to make. So if you want to do that, you absolutely can. Same thing kind of goes with like 308 and 4570, or a couple other ones like 9mm, 10mm, and 12.7 are all pretty similar. 357 and 44 are pretty similar in the stuff that they take. Same thing goes with the 12 gauge and the 20 gauge. So you can kind of mix and match whatever you need for those different things. And there is a couple other ones that we're going to need to talk about here too, because there's like gunpowder and primers, but they're all going to kind of be useful for this because you need all of them to actually make the rounds. Up next, we've got the Cazador Poison Gland. This one, just like the other poison glands, you can use to make various venoms and put it on your weapon. This goes for the Mother Darkness as well and the Silver Sting. However, you can also use Cazador Poison Glands to make Turbo, which is the strongest chem in the game, arguably. You could also argue Rushing Water is the strongest chem. Both of them combined is very, very strong. I guess you could also argue like Slasher, Psycho, and Medics are really strong too. Either way, this is one of the strongest chems in the game, definitely in the top 5. and this is really good. So that's definitely going up into crafting. So many of these kind of look the same too. Up next we have Centaur's Blood, which Centaur Blood you can actually get from centaurs. Centaurs aren't super common throughout the Wasteland, but you can get a couple of these. These actually don't do anything. They're not used in any sort of recipe, which I feel like is a missed opportunity. They don't weigh anything though, weirdly enough, so you can carry as much Centaur Blood as you want, and apparently it's weightless. So it's actually worth an okay amount of money, being like 10 caps a jar. So yeah, I'm gonna put that up in the moneymaker, weirdly enough. If you want to make money, collect some abomination blood, I guess, and sell it to whoever is buying. Why they're buying it, don't ask. Then up next we got cherry bombs. Cherry bombs don't weigh anything either, which is pretty awesome. Although you can make stuff with these, which is also really cool. You can make bottle cap mines. I think that's the only thing you can make with cherry bombs. But if you see a cherry bomb, grab it. The bottle cap mine is a pretty fantastic explosive in this game. It's not as strong as it was in like Fallout 3, and I don't even think it's as strong as it is in Fallout 4. But with how strong explosives are in general, it's still quite good. So crafting tier for that. Up next we got the clipboard and all of the variations of the clipboard, because there's like a finance clipboard, a destroyed clipboard. They're all basically the same. They're all interchangeable with one another. You can find a bunch of these and they're not really worth anything. However, you can actually give these to the book chute in Old World Blues. And if you do that, then he's going to give you scrap metal and duct tape for it. And those are two of the best things that you can use for this. So clipboards have to go to the Wasteland Classic tier then, so that then they can be made and crafted into the crafting tier. Maybe I should move these tiers around actually. Let's put the crafting up higher and the Wasteland Classic down lower. Then we've got coffee cups. These ones also count for all the other versions of coffee cups that you can get, coffee mugs and stuff. You give these to Muggy. Other than that, they don't necessarily have that much of use, although you do need them if you want to make black coffee. So there's that. And black coffee is actually decent. It's not a terrible food or anything like that, so, or food or drink. So you can use that, and if you give it to Muggy, then he'll break it down and he'll give you some empty syringes and wonder glues. Also really nice. So coffee mugs have to go to the Wasteland Classic. Coffee pots are also used to make different things like black coffee too, so you can actually use these in crafting. They're not one of like the craziest things to craft, but at least they have a use, so crafting tier then. Then we have the conductor. Conductors are heavy and they're actually worth an okay amount of money. You can make one thing out of this, which is rocket. You can make that drug that's basically like stronger jet with it. Is it worth carrying these around? No. These are 5 weight each, so it's just going to weigh you down quite a bit. But they can be crafted into something, so I guess they go to the, I don't know, maybe they go to the Wasteland Classic tier. That's a weird one. Coyote hides and hides in general can really only be used for one thing, which is to make leather belts. And leather belts aren't used for anything. They technically have some use in certain quests, but other than that, they aren't actually used for anything. I guess if you just want to trade this off for something that might be worth a little bit more. I don't even know if leather belts are worth that much more. So I'm actually going to put this hide up into the junk tier because it's not that great. Crutches are also pretty much junk. They were useful in Fallout 3 because you could make them into the railway rifle, but you don't have that in Fallout New Vegas, and there's no other use for them. They also weigh an okay amount, so they're going into the total junk tier as well. Up next we have cups, and unlike coffee mugs, you can't actually make these into anything, so they go into the total junk tier. Cutting board is the same way, unfortunately. You could use it to decorate, but that's about it. Nothing else of value really there. Then we have the destroyed gnome, and I mean, this thing just has to go to a Wasteland Classic. The gnomes in general make for fantastic things to decorate with. Are they practical to carry around? Absolutely not. They're kind of heavy. They weigh like 4 pounds each, so they're gonna take up some space. And do they serve any other purpose? Also no. They are just there for decoration. But you can collect all the gnomes, and you can put them into your house. So that makes them at least worth something. Not monetary value, but worth something. Then we have the Deathclaw egg. Deathclaw eggs are actually kind of useful because you can use these to make wasteland omelets. These things are fairly heavy too, at 7 weight. So that's heavier than a lot of weapons, funny enough, and armors, even for that matter, at least light armors, or more clothing armors. But yeah, kind of heavy, worth a decent amount, and they give you the wasteland omelet if you have that recipe, and that recipe is probably the best recipe in the game. So, I mean, Deathclaw eggs gotta go to one of a kind, because they are fantastic to be getting. Even though they're not one of a kind, you do still have to kill Deathclaws to get them, and even at max level, killing Deathclaws can sometimes still prove to be an issue, depending on how close range you're fighting them. But yeah, definitely worth it if you get them. Then Deathclaw hands. These ones are sadly not used for anything. They are going to absolutely be a Wasteland classic though, because, I mean, you're going to collect Deathclaw hands, right? You're going to put all those around your house. They make for great decorations. They're okay to sell, I guess, but not that much. You can't make Deathclaw gauntlets in this, sadly, except for the one that we're going to talk about here in a second. And yeah, it's just kind of sad that you can't use more of these. The other Deathclaw hand, though, this is the Hand of Rar, or the Fist of Rar. And the Fist of Rar is pretty awesome because you take the Hand of Rar, you make the Fist of Rar, and it is the Deathclaw Gauntlet, and it is one of the strongest unarmed weapons in the entire game. It's also the only weapon, or at least worthwhile weapon, that you can sneak into dead money. So if you kill Rar before you go to dead money, you can just take this in and make it on a workbench since it doesn't require anything else and it counts as a quest item, so the Sierra Madre can't take it away from you. And then you'll have a very easy time dealing with everybody there because this thing is crazy in terms of damage per second, crits. It's really, really good. So this one is one of a kind because it is quite literally one of a kind. You can only make one of these. Although the name actually does change. If you have Wild Wasteland, then it turns into the Fist of the North Rar. So kind of a cool little anime reference there to probably one of the most insane and violent animes ever. But it's pretty fitting for New Vegas to have something like this. Then we've got the Detonator. This is the broken detonator that Elijah has. This one is also, I'm going to say, one of a kind. Even though you can get detonators that actually work for your C4, you're probably just going to keep this and keep it as like a little souvenir there. You find this near Little Yangsty Camp in Old World Blues, where he was planning on putting this and the collars around people's necks to, well, blow them up or get them to do whatever the heck he wanted. And you can see this with all the prisoners that are still in the Little Yangsty Camp, and if they leave the perimeter, their head does explode. So this is basically like the manual way to do it. But this one's busted, so it's just a decoration. But there is only one of it, I believe. Another dinner plate. This thing is the same as the previous plates, and it is just not worthwhile, so don't pick them up. The dinosaur toy and the Dinky the dinosaur toys are definitely Wasteland classics, though. You can get a lot of these, which is why they're not one of a kind, and you can put these all around your house. I mean, you can buy all these from Cliff if you would like in Novak, or you could just steal all of them and then have all of the decorations in your house that way. So, your call, whatever you want. Dog Bowl's up next, and this one also doesn't have any use. It's also not really that unique. And sadly, you can't eat, well, I guess you can take this to like the Lucky 38 and give it to Rex, but that would be about it. There is also, I guess, a unique version of this with Gabe's Bowl in Old World Blues that you can give to Dr. Boros, and that kind of completes his quest. So there is that, but we aren't including like quest items on here, so we'll just keep it there. And next up we have the dog hide. This is basically the same as the coyote hide. Why you're skinning dogs? I mean, it kind of makes sense in the Wasteland, as gruesome as that sounds. But yeah, you can make it into leather belts. So junk tier. Then we've got the drinking glass, which is just like the cup, in that you can't use it for anything. You can't even fill it with water and stuff. At least you can do that with some of the other bottles, and at least you can make stuff with the coffee cup. So it's going down to the total junk tier. Then we've got duct tape, which duct tape is basically like the king of crafting, and it belongs at the very top. You can make so many things with duct tape, so many explosives with duct tape. If you ever see duct tape, pick it up. It's going to save you at some point, maybe, unless you're using like a guns or a melee or an unarmed build, in which case maybe not. But if you're using explosives or a hybrid build of all sorts of stuff, duct tape is top tier, one of the best junk items in the entire game. The top end of crafting, very, very nice. Egg timers, not as much, although you can use these to make explosives, at least with time bombs. Time bombs kind of suck though, and that's about the only thing you could really make with egg timers. They're going to go into crafting, but they're not going to be one of the best crafting things. Although, luckily enough, you can find these pretty often when you raid people's stoves. So, it has that going for it. A lot of powder gangers carry them around, too. Up next, we have all the drained cells. So, this is drained energy cells, microfusion cells, flamer fuel, and this one goes right up into like the top of crafting as well, because you can always use these just to recycle more ammo. Then if you're using an energy weapons build, you can just get more ammo from that. If you're using like Vigilant Recycler, you can get even more ammo from this, and you can get better ammo types, so that's really cool. Like, you just want to have more and more ammo with any build, especially an energy weapons build, and sometimes it can be kind of a pain to find enough energy cells laying around, at least that aren't just either energy cells or microfusion cells, because sometimes flamer fuel can get a little bit low, depending on what enemies you're fighting. Sometimes robots have a lot of it. And the electronic charge packs can also sometimes be kind of difficult to find in the Wasteland. So the more you recycle, the better. Then we've got the Nuka-Cola bottle, and this is also going to cover the Sarsaparilla bottles. These ones are absolutely Wasteland classics. You can actually craft a lot of stuff with these, so they are very useful for that. Maybe I should put them up in the crafting tier. Yeah, let's put them up in the crafting tier, because you can make different drinks out of these. You can fill them up at the sink and get a whole bunch of just bottled water, so it's purified water, which is fantastic for both healing and for the hardcore difficulty of surviving. They don't weigh too much. They're super common, so you can collect a million of them if you'd like. There's always them just laying around somewhere, and they can be useful for something, regardless of what that something might be. Empty syringes are also going to go up in here, because empty syringes you can make into stim packs. You can also make into other drugs and stuff, and that can be pretty useful. Making more and more chems is always nice, whether you want money or you want to keep healing. This is the empty whiskey bottle. Also can be useful in crafting. I'd put it up there. You can make some things with this, and it's still a bottle, so you can still fill it with purified water if you'd like. But not as useful as like the Nuka-Cola or the sarsaparilla bottles, I would say. But still quite good. This list is weird. Just thinking about it. Because, yeah, which bottle is better? The empty whiskey bottle or the empty soda bottle? You'd think they would be the same, but no, you can actually make some more stuff with this than with this, but whatever. Then we have the evil gnome, and the evil gnome goes right up into one of a kind. There is only one evil gnome in the game. You can find this, you don't even need Wild Wasteland funny enough to get this, but you find it in the same cave that the legendary fire gecko is in, down south near the Caesar's Legion camp, or I guess near Cottonwood Cove. You can go in there, and there is one gnome that looks different. This is the evil gnome. Be sure to grab it. That way you can spruce up your place with an evil gnome wherever the heck you choose to live. Other than that, it has the same exact stats as all the other gnomes. It looks different. It looks angrier. Then we have fingers. Fingers are absolutely Wasteland classics. You can get these off of Caesar's Legion members. Well, actually, you can get them off NCR members. Sorry, it's the ears you can get off Caesar's Legion. Those will also be Wasteland classics. In fact, they're right down here. So ears and fingers, Wasteland classics. Collect them fingers, collect them ears. Why they're in this game, I don't know, because they don't actually serve any purpose. They don't weigh anything, so you can carry around as many as you would like. But, yeah, they don't... Well, I guess technically, at least the Legionnaires do serve some purpose. You can give them to the NCR for some money. The fingers, maybe you can give them to the Legion for money. It's not worth a whole lot of money either way. These ones, I think, are just holdovers from Fallout 3, where you could do the same thing in that game, whether you took the Lawbringer or the Contract Killer perks, and then you could get one of these. So, that's kind of cool. And then we got Fire Gecko eggs. These weigh 3. They're worth an okay amount of money. Generally, the different eggs here are actually kind of useful if you want to carry them around for cash. But that's about it, so I'm going to put the eggs up into the moneymaker. The fire gecko hides are actually really useful because you can actually turn these into tanned gecko hides, and those can be worth a little bit more money. This is actually worth a decent more money than like the dog or the coyote hides. You can turn them into leather belts, which I don't recommend because they're not worth as much then. So the fire gecko hides I would put right up here into the moneymaker. I don't think you need fire gecko hides if you're going to do the gecko-backed leather or metal armor though, which are decent armors, but nothing way crazy. Fire hose nozzle is up next, I guess, which you can use this for kind of a quest, but other than that, it's total junk. So I'm going to put it into the total junk tier. Then we've got the fission battery. Fission batteries are fairly heavy. They weigh 6. They're worth a decent amount, and you can actually make them into at least a couple of things. You can use these to recharge cells, which is pretty awesome. You can use these to make the Sierra Madre slugs, which is also pretty good. It makes so you essentially have infinite Sierra Madre slugs, which is cool. And you can also use it to make moonshine. So, fission battery, right up into crafting. Flour, weirdly enough, doesn't count as actually a food you can eat. It is a miscellaneous item. However, you can make it into food to eat. If you want to make the fire ant fricassee, I think is how you say it, or the Brahmin Wellington, which are two of the best food items. I think one of them requires, at least the Brahmin Wellington requires you to get the schematic to actually make it though, or the recipe to make it. I don't think that the fricassee does though, so I'm going to put it up into crafting. Then we got our Legion coins. And the Legion coins are definitely money makers, so we're going to put both these up here. However, the Legion denarius, I think that's how you say it, these ones, the silver ones, are actually more useful than the gold ones. The gold ones are worth more money. You get better returns on this, but you can turn the silver ones into coin shot, which is pretty cool. And that's actually one of the strongest 12 gauge shotgun shells, and it also has a really cool sound to it. Is it super practical to make? No, not really. You may just end up wanting to sell these or trade them to casinos for regular caps, but it is another use that these ones have, so don't discount these, I guess. Up next, we have the lunch boxes. Lunch boxes are going right up into crafting. You can make these into bottle cap mines. Bottle cap mines are pretty decent explosives. These don't weigh very much. They're actually worth an okay amount. You can also turn them into caravan launches, which is kind of cool. So you can make food that's pretty decent, or you can make an explosive that's also pretty decent. Then we have the sensor module. Sensor modules are going right up into crafting. You can actually make a lot of things with sensor modules, weirdly enough. So there is quite a few different things you can make. You can make explosives, you can make the auto-inject stim packs. They don't weigh very much. They're useful in a lot of explosives, so if you just want to do a crafting only run or an explosives only run, these ones are something to be on the lookout for. Then we have, I believe this is embalming fluid, which is definitely going to go up to the one of a kind. Even though there's like 4 bottles or 5 bottles of embalming fluid, this doesn't actually serve any purpose, and I don't know why it's in the game. It's only in one area in the Sierra Madre. It's something interesting. You can put it on your shelf, so it kind of has to go up there then, I guess. Forceps are useful because you can actually use these to craft doctor's bags. Doctor's bags are probably the most important item when you're playing on the hardcore difficulty, because it really sucks to break your limbs on the hardcore difficulty, and you want to make sure that that doesn't happen as much as possible with most builds. If you're doing an eye for an eye build, or eye for eye build, then this one isn't going to be as useful, but still, like early on, crippling your limbs sucks. It's going to go right up into crafting. I think that this is the fork next. I think, unless it's another knife. I'm not entirely sure because it's kind of cut off over here. We're going to call this the fork for right now, though. Forks can also be used for scrap metal, similar to the butter knives, so they're going to go up there. Even if it's not a fork and another knife, it can still be used for scrap metal, so it has some value up there. Anyway, gnomes, just like the Destroyed Gnome Wasteland Classic, you can decorate your house with them. They're impractically heavy to carry around. If you want to carry around a bunch of gnomes, you absolutely can, though, if you really want to, I guess. Then we've got gecko eggs. These are just regular gecko eggs. These aren't worth a whole lot. They're technically a money-making item, so I guess I'd put them up here. But they're not a great early game money-making item. You can do better than gecko eggs, but you can find a lot of them really early on. Then we got gecko hide. You can make this into tanned gecko hides, which tanned gecko hides are pretty useful because, again, you can make it into the gecko-backed leather or metal armor. You can with the fire ones too. I was mistaken earlier when I said that. This one, also moneymaker. They could be useful. You can get a lot of them. They don't weigh very much. It's not going to be a great money-making item, but they're okay, I guess. Glass pitchers can actually be kind of useful because you can make this into mass purified water. It does consume the whole glass pitcher, I believe. Or maybe this is one of the ones where it doesn't. I don't think it does, actually. I think you have to keep this in your inventory, at least one of them, and it will just keep using it to make more mass purified water. So it does have some use, and I'd put it in the crafting tier. Then we got the gold bars. Gold bars have to go to one of a kind, even though you can collect a whole bunch of them. Practically, you're not supposed to carry out all of them from dead money. That's kind of the whole point of dead money. But you can, if you're fast enough, without even having to cheat out or anything. If you got Implant GRX and like a Stealth Boy, you can absolutely get outside the vault very easily. It will probably take you a couple tries because Elijah's pathing's a little bit strange. But you can get all like 37 bars out of the Sierra Madre if you would like to. I always keep one of them as a souvenir. If you don't want to do this and you want to do it the regular way and walk out or run out through the Sierra Madre when it's exploding, you can do that, but then you're only going to be able to carry like 3, 4, maybe 5 bars total because these things weigh a lot. Golden bars do weigh 35 weight a piece, so it's a lot, and your maximum carry weight is not going to be, well, able to carry 37 of them, or however many there actually is. It's definitely worth it, though, money-wise, and I do usually sell a couple of them once I get back to the Wasteland, but I always keep like 10 to 20 of these just at my house, wherever I'm living, just because they're so cool. Up next, we have more gecko hides. This is golden gecko and green gecko, and we're just going to put them both up in the moneymaker. Green geckos are worth more, and they're going to be more difficult because golden geckos are common in the Wasteland, or somewhat common in the Wasteland. Once you're getting to like Novak and stuff, you can find and kill them pretty easily. Green geckos are only in Zion, so you will have to go to the Honest Hearts DLC in order to fight them and get this. And again, you can sell these if you would like. That works just fine, or you can get the hides, you can tan them, and then you can make them into the gecko-backed leather or metal armor, which is better than regular metal or leather armor is. These two green jars are two completely different things, so I'm going to put one down here for now, even though they use the same model. This one is gunpowder, And gunpowder is going to go right up into the crafting. This covers all sorts of powder, so this is pistol and rifle powder, and you need this in order to craft more gun parts. You need it the same way that you need the primers and the casings for it, and the lead itself. So, makes sense to throw it in the crafting. Why it shares the same as, I think, the Night Stalker squeezings? Or maybe this is Night Stalker something else. I don't really know, but it does share that same model. I guess it was just to recycle it, but even so. And then we got the trusty hammer. Sadly, you can't even use hammers as weapons. At least this kind of hammer. You can use a sledgehammer and a super sledge, but the regular hammer you can't. And it's all over the place, and it's just kind of junk, so we'll throw it there. Harmonicas, same type of thing. You can't sell these to anybody worth anything. They kind of weigh an okay amount. They're fairly common, but you can't really do anything else with them, so they're going to go also into the total junk tier. Then we've got the dog tags. I'm going to put both these in the Wasteland Classics. This is NCR dog tags and Brotherhood of Steel dog tags. Both these kind of have their own use. You can get money for either one of them. You can sell the NCR dog tags either to the NCR and get money, or you can sell them to the Caesar's Legion and get money and reputation. I guess you get reputation from the NCR too. You can give the BOS back their tags, and you'll also get reputation from them, and you can get money that way. So, does help either way, but they don't weigh anything, so they are, I guess you could also put them in money makers if you want. I guess I'll put them up there, actually. They kind of fit that better than the Wasteland Classics. Then we've got the complimentary voucher. This one you also get in dead money. And these ones you can actually get outside of dead money. You can get this in the casino, and then you can get vouchers once a week from the bunker. You can use this right there if you would like for the vending machine, and you can just trade that into whatever you want. So you can trade it into like different weapon repair kits and stuff. You can trade it for anything that you get in Sierra Madre, so that's pretty awesome. This one is going to go, actually, we'll put it in the moneymaker. I don't think it's one of a kind classic because it is refundable once a week. You can just keep getting it, and that means you can potentially have infinite weapon repair kits, 308 rounds, 357 rounds, a couple other things that you can get from there. So I guess like Sierra Madre martinis if you want, or at least the things to make Sierra Madre martinis. Hot plates you can actually use to make superheated knives. And that's it. So it does have some use. I guess I'd put it in crafting, but it's on the low end of crafting because I think that's the only thing you can actually make with the hot plates. And the superheated knife is not like one of the most impressive fire weapons in the game. It's kind of an average melee weapon to below average melee weapon. And if you want something that is fire, just talk to the toaster and make the Saturnite Fist superheated. That'll work out a whole lot better for you. Then we've got severed heads, which are absolutely a Wasteland classic. These are technically part of a quest, but there are multiple of them, and I guess there's nothing stopping you from actually carrying around a severed head if you would really like to. But this is usually the Fiend's heads that you get. You can carry them around. This is technically a quest item, but I felt like including it because it was such a Wasteland classic, and it's something that you could reasonably get without even knowing why you took these heads anyway. The iron is total junk. This thing weighs 5. It sells for nothing. You can't use it for anything. I wish you could break it down to like scrap metal or something, but it's just not that good. Cloud residue goes to crafting because you can make different things with it. You can make the ghost sight and have like night vision. You could also use it to make any of the various poisons or venoms and put them on your weapon. Shank somebody with that, so that's kind of cool. Burnt books and all of the various trashed books, besides I think like pre-war books and the blank books that I have here, are gonna go to like the waste. Actually, yeah, let's put them in the Wasteland Classics because it's very similar to like clipboards. You give this to the book chute, and he will spit out blank books. If you get a blank book, a magazine, and some glue, and the schematic for it, you can make one of any of the special books. So you can make like a guns book, you can make a repair book, you can make an explosives book, whatever it might be. You can make those at least once in dead money, which is kind of useful. Outside of that, they don't really have any purpose, so they're not going to be a great reusable thing, not like the clipboards where you can keep getting duct tape and make more explosives that way. But it is kind of something cool that you can at least reuse. Scotch bottle, we're going to put up here. You can also make things from the scotch bottle that you couldn't from the whiskey bottle and from the Nuka-Cola bottle, or you could always fill them up with water at the sink, so that's kind of cool. Lawnmower blades. Part of me wants to put this in Wasteland Classic, but I don't think lawnmower blades are actually used for anything. Let me check really quick. So lawnmower blades, yeah, don't have any use. They weigh 2. They're not worth a whole lot. I think they have to go to Wasteland Junk, sadly. In Fallout 3, these would be like Wasteland Classics because you can take these in Fallout 3 and make the shish kebab from it. But in Fallout New Vegas, you don't make the shish kebab at all. You just buy those or find them off of various raiders, I guess. So sadly, you can't even like fix up shish kebabs with lawnmower blades. Leather belts are also going to go to the total garbage tier. You can't use them for anything besides selling them, and they're not worth very much money. The hides are usually worth more than these. Leather belts were used in Fallout 3 to at least make the Deathclaw Gauntlet, but they're not in this, so you don't really have much of a use for them. Lottery tickets have to go to the Wasteland Classic. You know what the lottery is, and if you won the lottery, that means you gotta live. If you got second place in the lottery, that means you gotta live, but you had a broken leg. And if you got third place or below in Nipton, that either means you were executed or you were crucified. So it was not a lottery you wanted to lose. It does make it a Wasteland Classic. You can find these all over Nipton. They do actually serve some value. They're worth like 1 or 2 caps or maybe up to 10 caps a piece. And they don't weigh anything, so you can carry around a bunch of them. So that's kind of cool. I think they actually vary from 1 to 10 caps. It's kind of weird. I think there's actually 2 different lottery tickets, but they look exactly the same. Mantis eggs aren't really worth a whole lot. I guess I'd put them up in the money-making tier as well, just like the other eggs. They're not going to be the best, but you can at least use them for something. The mantis forelimbs, these are going into crafting. You can eat these. You can make grilled mantis limbs, and I don't know how great a grilled mantis limb would be. I don't know how hard it would be to chew through that either, because you're chewing through like an exoskeleton, and I can't imagine them having like meat on them. I imagine it would just kind of like pop when you eat it, or it would just be super crunchy, but you can't eat them. So that's something. Medical braces, you can actually use these. These go up into crafting because you can make them in doctor's bags. In Fallout 3, you could actually make these into the Deathclaw Gauntlet as well, which was cool, but you can't do that in New Vegas. Let's see, the metal pots and the metal pans will also go up into the Wasteland Classics. Actually, they'll go up into crafting, similar to the knives and forks, because you can just turn these into scrap metal, and scrap metal's pretty useful, so that's pretty cool. Then we've got milk bottles. Milk bottles are total junk. Well, actually, maybe they should go up to Wasteland Classic, because I think you can actually take milk bottles, since they do count as a bottle, to fill them up with water at the sink. So they have something going for them, but they don't have extra recipes like these other bottles. So these are just naturally inferior bottles to these other bottles, because they have words written on them and they're a particular shape, I guess. Up next, we have the motorcycle fuel tank, and we have the motorcycle handbrake. These ones are going to go to total junk, sadly. In Fallout 3, you could use these to make the shish kebab. In Fallout New Vegas, you can't even turn them into scrap metal. They're not worth a whole lot. They're kind of heavy, at least the tank is. The hand grip, not so much. Then we have the mutilated limbs, and these ones have to go into Wasteland Classic, of course. You can find these throughout various places that super mutants have been in. Super mutants tend to mutilate whoever they fight. I don't know if that's intentional, like they do it after the fact, or if it just is sort of a thing that happens because super mutants are so freakishly strong and could easily like tear somebody's head off if they wanted. This covers quite a few different limbs. This includes the arms, the legs, the organs, the skull, the torso. These aren't really worth anything. You can't do anything with them unless you wanted to decorate, which is kind of disturbing, but I mean, you know what they say? Skulls for the skull throne or skulls for the golden throne. Whatever throne you're making, it's going to need skulls, so you might as well collect them. Then we've got Night Stalker eggs. I guess I'd put these with the other eggs. They're worth a decent amount. You can find them pretty easily on Night Stalkers. They don't weigh very much, and they're okay. I believe you can also make these into, you can make these into Mushroom Cloud, which is a food that you can eat if you would like to. The green stuff is the Night Stalker blood. That's what it was that I was missing. Night Stalker blood can actually be used to make anti-venom, which is useful, and Hydra, which is super useful. So these ones gotta go up into the crafting tier. The Hydra is a really good chem, especially on the hardcore difficulty, because it and Doctor's Bags are the only 2 things that can fix your limbs. And one of the healing tribal stuff that you can make in Zion is another one that you can fix your limbs with. But other than that, you're gonna have to find a doctor. So making more of it, pretty good. The Nuka truck, this one's gotta go down into total junk. You can't use this for anything, sadly. Then we've got the medical scope. I can't remember what it's actually called in New Vegas. This one, it actually isn't used for anything, weirdly enough. You can't use it to make doctor's bags, so it's gonna go into total junk, sadly. Cartons of smokes gotta go up to the moneymaker. Or these aren't cartons of smokes, these are packs of smokes. These ones are more lightweight than cartons. They're worth less though because you don't have as many smokes, but they are really good for the start because you can carry around a whole bunch of these and you can sell them to any sort of vendor that you got and you can make some extra money that way, which is fantastic. Sadly, the paint gun also has to go into the total junk tier because you can't make it into anything. In Fallout 3, again, you could use this. You could make it into the dart gun, and the dart gun was stupidly overpowered in Fallout 3 because it just allowed you to cripple anything's legs. But yeah, in Fallout New Vegas, not so much. It's not as crazy. It would be crazy if it was in the game. It's just you can't put it in the game, so at least without mods. Then we have the paperweight, which I guess we also have the whetstone here, which are the same model, funny enough. These don't do anything. Sadly, you can't even sharpen your weapon on the whetstones. I wish you could, then maybe you could have like a stronger weapon, at least for a little bit. Sharpen your katana, sharpen your knife, sharpen your machete. Sharpen, I guess if it counted anything with a blade, sharpen your chainsaw. Pencils are Wasteland classics. These are actually worth a decent amount because pencils are worth, I think, 1 to 2 caps each. They don't weigh anything, so you can hoard a bunch of them like the lottery tickets. You can also use the pencils to give to the book chute as well, and he'll chew them up to make them into lead and scrap metal. Lead is kind of whatever. It's super easy to get lead, so you never need that. Scrap metal, though, pretty good. You can actually use that for quite a few things. Then we've got the pilot's light. These ones I would put up into the crafting tier, because you can make these into a couple different explosives if you would like to. Are they super impressive explosives? Not really. It's like gas bombs and stuff, but at least you can make them into something, so there's that. Then we've got the platinum chip, which is also technically a quest item, but it gets passed around so much in the main quest. This is a one-of-a-kind classic. You were given that platinum chip, Benny stole it from you, and you rightfully took it back. Plungers are a Wasteland classic. You can't do anything with plungers, but I do know plenty of people that love to collect these. It's one of those things. It's similar to like the skulls. You collect all the plungers, you put them in one room because that is your plunger room. That is your janitor closet, whatever you want to do. You can throw it in with your gnomes. Makes the place look fantastic. This is the ping pong ball and the other ball. I think there's 2 different balls. Golf ball, that's the other one. Total junk. These don't weigh as much as pool balls, but they don't have any purpose like pool balls. Pots are going to go up into the Wasteland Classic because you can turn these into scrap metal, or actually they'll go up here in the crafting because you can turn them into scrap metal. Scrap metal's pretty nice. Then we've got pre-war books. Pre-war books actually don't really serve much of a purpose in this, but they will go into the Wasteland Classic because they're kind of nice to decorate your house with. And they're fairly rare, even though they don't do anything. Still, something there. Blank books, going up to the crafting tier. This one you just get when you feed it to the machine, we've already talked about with the destroyed books. You can get a bunch of these, and then you can make them actually into skill books, which is pretty cool. Pre-war money has to go up into the money-making tier. Pre-war money is actually worth a lot of money, and if you cash out in the Sierra Madre Casino, you actually get paid in pre-war money, and that's worth a whole lot more than caps is, because this is worth more in terms of exchange rate from pre-war money to caps, so you actually get even more money, and that has the highest gamble limit in it too. So you can get the most amount of money when you go there if you want. Pressure cookers can't actually be used for anything, and they're heavy, so they're also going to go into total junk. Again, in Fallout 3 they had a use, and I'm pretty sure this is just a holdover from Fallout 3, where you could make it into the railway rifle. In this, not so much. Then we've got the engraved lighter. This is also technically a quest item, sort of, but it's a one-of-a-kind classic. This is Benny's lighter, who, well, he was smoking before he decided to shoot you in the head with his pistol. So, as always, be sure to take his lighter, his pistol, and his outfit for yourself. You deserve it, because Benny does not deserve those things. Then we've got rad scorpion eggs. I guess I put this up in the money-making tier, because rad scorpion eggs are pretty common, and you can at least get a decent amount of them. Rad Scorpion Venom, also going to go up here into the crafting because you can make it into various venoms if you would like. Nothing way crazy, but at least it's kind of something, I guess. You can also make it into anti-venom, which is fantastic. And you can also make it into Ruby's Casserole, which is also kind of cool. So it has quite a few different uses for it. Rake is junk. You rarely find them. So if you want to put them in your house, you absolutely can. But that's going to be the only thing. You just decorate with them. So yeah, there. This is primers, I think. So primers go up into crafting. We've already talked about primers, powder. This isn't powder. Primers, powder, and cases. You need all those to make bullets, and then you also need lead, which is one of these. They have the same icon as scrap metal, but we'll also put it up here in the crafting, because lead is also useful in that same way. You just need some amount of lead, and it's really easy to get a lot of lead when you're making different bullets, so you're basically never going to be out of this. It's always actually going to weigh you down at least some amount. We've got rocket packs. You can find these around the Divide. They technically count as miscellaneous items, but they'll just go into rockets as soon as you get them, so I guess they have to go into Wasteland Classic. Then we've got the Rocket Souvenir, also Wasteland Classic, great for decorating your house. You can steal a lot of these, and they are useful in one quest, but mostly you're going to take them so that you can decorate your house with them. That's what you're really going to do. Then we've got a Scalpel, which this one crafting because you can make it into doctor's bags, so that's pretty cool. Scissors, though, you can't actually make into doctor's bags, so they go to the total junk tier, sadly. Although you can find these all the time with all sorts of medical stuff, similar like the bone saw. I don't know why this wasn't used to make like a trauma pack or something, but it just never was. Then we've got scrap electronics. These ones are going right up into the very top of crafting. These ones are fantastic. You can make them into all sorts of explosives and stuff. They're really good for that. Usually I don't have enough of them, and it can be a pain just buying a whole lot of this stuff. But it is one of the more useful things because you can also use it in like weapon repair kits and stuff too. So there's always that. Weapon repair kits, I guess, is going to be the main thing that I use these for. Explosives is like another thing that you can use them. Then we've got scrap metal, another amazing crafting resource. You can make scrap metal into a couple different things. You're going to need it for like weapon repair kits. You can use it to make Sierra Madre slugs. You can use it to make lead if you'd like. You can also use this to make nails for the nail gun. Pretty awesome stuff there, and it's very, very common to find scrap metal just laying around. Then we've got scriptures. Scriptures are one of a kind. This is a gift from Joshua to you at the very end of Honest Hearts. Or from Daniel. I guess it depends on who you see it from. And it is a one-of-a-kind item. It doesn't have any significant use outside of just being something that you can keep. But it is supposed to be like the Book of Mormon. So you do have that, which is pretty awesome. Or at least Joshua's version of the Book of Mormon. Not entirely sure how different that is from the regular Book of Mormon. Then we've got the Roughing It blanket or sleeping bag. This one also right up into one of a kind. I think technically you can get more than one of these. They are in the Lonesome Road. Maybe it's only the one. You can use this as a sleeping bag to sleep wherever you'd like. It's pretty cool on the hardcore difficulty. It does weigh a lot though, but I always find myself carrying it around anyway after the Lonesome Road because it's just so fitting for your person to carry it around. If not, you can always put it in your house to decorate. It works there really, really well too. Then we got the blank magazines. This is also in Lonesome Road. I'm going to put that in crafting. You can just turn it into other magazines if you would like. So that can be pretty nice. It can be pretty good if you want to make the crit mags, or it can be pretty useful if you want to make like science or lockpicking mags. There is some use there for it, regardless of what you want. Then we've got Seymour. Seymour is one of a kind as well. Seymour can also be found in the Lonesome Road. This is a reference to Futurama, where you can find Fry's dog there, and you can take it so long as you have Wild Wasteland. Then we got sheet music. This one's also one of a kind. You can find this in Dead Money, I believe. There might be a couple of places where you can find sheet music. It doesn't really have any quest usefulness like it did in Fallout 3, where it actually was directly tied to a quest. But you can just keep this, and it's actually worth a decent amount of money too if you want to sell it. So that's kind of cool, but it's very rare, so I just use this as like decoration. Shot glasses, I believe that these are. These ones are also junk. You can't make anything with shot glasses. Sadly, you can't even make shots with it. I wish you could, but it's just not something you can do. Then we've got the Sierra Madre coins and the slugs. So these ones are definitely money makers. They're worth a lot of money, and you can trade them in for really cool stuff like weapon repair kits, 308 rounds, whatever you want from the Sierra Madre. You can also make these, like we've talked about a couple of times too, if you talk to Christine and then get her recipe from it. So that's really awesome. We've got the Deactivated Colors. These ones you can collect. They do weigh something. I'm going to put them in the... Actually, I'm going to put these in one of a kind. These ones are Elijah's collars that he had that didn't work, and he was trying to make them work. It's also where you find the broken detonator, so it kind of has that going for it. I'm just going to use these for decorations, but they are pretty cool decorations. They also kind of remind you of the Sierra Madre, whatever good or bad feelings you have about that DLC. Then we got snow globes. These are also one of a kind. Quite literally, they're one of a kind. Well, you can find multiple of them, but they're all different. There's 7 snow globes, I believe, in the base game, and then you can find 1 in each DLC, so there's another 4, so you can find 11 snow globes in total, I think. Seems like there's about that many. If not, I could be wrong, and remind me in the comments if I'm wrong. Some of these you do have to find, at least the Dead Money one you have to find the first time through. You can't go back to Dead Money. So if you missed that snow globe, you can't find it. The other ones you can always go back and get, which is pretty awesome. You can sell these to Mr. House, and you don't even actually have to give these up, because whenever you give them to Mr. House, they're actually stored there at the Lucky 38. So they're still yours, and you can still admire them if you'd like. Then we've got the spatula. This is junk too. You can't use it for anything. I'm tempted to put it in the Wasteland Classic though, just because I like it. And they're at least somewhat rare. See, this is the Spork. Spork is a Wasteland Classic. I mean, you gotta have it, just like the big spoon. If you see a Spork, you're gonna pick it up. I don't know what this is. I think it might actually be a fork. I think this might be the fork, so it should probably go up here. I think that other one that I put up here was a knife. Yeah, that's probably the knife. This is probably the fork. You can at least turn the forks into metal. You can't do that with sporks. Sporks are too advanced, I guess. They can't be broken down into simple metal. Then we've got star caps. Star caps are technically a quest item, but you can collect a whole ton of them. You need 50 of them to complete the quest, but these are sometimes set in the world where you can go and pick them up, or you can just get these randomly from drinking sarsaparilla bottles. So you can't actually get a lot of them. There's technically an unlimited amount. They are pretty cool. They are, I guess, technically money makers, because after you've completed the quest, then even if you get a blue star cap from drinking sarsaparilla or pick it up, it'll just turn into a regular cap, so it's at least worth $1 then, which is kind of cool. Steam gauge assembly is total junk and probably one of the worst items that you can pick up in the game. This one weighs 10. It has no use. It's not worth anything. In Fallout 3, you could use it to make the railway rifle, but in New Vegas, you can't. Then we've got the Sunset Sarsaparilla Deputy Badge. You can actually find a ton of these, but they're going to go up into... maybe they'll go to Wasteland Classic, because you can find so many of them. They're kind of cool to collect. You can find tons of them actually in the Sunset Sarsaparilla area, at least in the back area where you would get Pew Pew. You do need to complete the quest to get these, I think, unless you can find them in boxes outside the area, in which case maybe you can find a couple of them. But there is a whole bunch of them inside the vault there, and they're kind of cool to collect at least. Surgical tubing is up next, and surgical tubing can actually be used to make doctor's bags, it can be used to make mass purified water, and it can be used to make the snakebite tourniquet, so it is really good for crafting. Grab surgical tubing whenever you see it, because all of those are fantastic. Then we got teddy bears, a Wasteland classic. You can't actually use the teddy bears for anything, but they're nice to decorate your house with, so you got that. There is also at least one unique teddy bear, funny enough, too, in this, that you can get from one of the Legion members who stole it off of a little slave girl for some reason. Then we've got tin cans. Tin cans are far superior to bent tin cans in every way. You can craft them into explosives, you can craft them into a couple of different things, you can craft them into bolts if you got junk rounds, even though junk rounds is not that great of a perk, but you can do it anyway if you really want to. Then we got toasters. Toasters, another Wasteland classic. You can feed these to the toaster and he'll give you parts from it, and that's kind of morbid in and of itself, but you can do it if you want, so there's that. Toy cars are gonna go to junk. You can't do anything with them. Again, in Fallout 3 they had a use where you could make them into the dart gun. New Vegas, not so much. Triangle, also useless. We don't need triangles here. We got circles, and even the circles aren't doing that great. So why would we need triangles when circles aren't doing that great? Tunneler hides are, I guess, gonna go to the money-making tier, because tunneler hides are worth something, but you can't actually make them into anything like you can with the other hides, so they're just gonna be sold for money, if anything. Turpentine's gonna go up to crafting. You do need this for the Gecko-backed leather or metal armor, so there is that it kind of has a use for. Turpentine, I think, can be used for a couple of other things. Yeah, it can be used to make turbo, which is really good. Why you shouldn't be drinking turpentine, but you probably shouldn't be drinking anything in turbo, but it does at least have a really cool effect. So there is that. So yeah, if you see turpentine, pick it up. Then we have tweezers. Tweezers have no use, even though you could totally make like a trauma pack out of them, but they're similar to the scissors. They don't have a use. Vacuum cleaner, also no use. This is junk. They're just heavy. They don't give you that much money. You could, in Fallout 3, make it into the rocket launcher, but in New Vegas, you can't. So that would be sad. If you add the rocket launcher, honestly, this whole total junk tier would have more use, because you could at least load it in and fire it at people. And that's what also made a lot of the junk in Fallout 3 kind of useful, because you could do that. Or I guess even the junk jet in Fallout 4, you could do the same thing. Then we've got the trusty Vault 13 canteen, one of a kind. This is actually even a DLC. You do need the classic pack, I believe, to get it. And you start out with it. Your person will drink this every once in a while. It does weigh 1 weight, or half a weight if you have pack rat, but you can at least keep your thirst down if you are playing on the hardcore difficulty. If you're not playing on the hardcore difficulty, it's just kind of a collectible for you to have. Then we got Wonder Glue, great for crafting. You can make quite a few different things with Wonder Glue, which is pretty awesome. You can use it to make weapon repair kits, and you can also use it to make like the blank books into actual skill books, so that's really cool. Then we've got the leaf blower. Unfortunately, total junk. You can't use the leaf blower for anything. It only weighs 2. It's worth an okay amount of money. That's about it. The wood chipper is even worse though, because the wood chipper is worth about the same as the leaf blower, but instead of weighing 2, this thing weighs 50 weight. It is like the heaviest item in the game. That I think it's actually heavier than all weapons, and it might be heavier than all armors too. I can't think of any armor that weighs 50, so I think this is the heaviest item in the entire game. At least for a single item. Yeah, the total junk. This thing is terrible to pick up. There's only a handful of them actually in the game, so if you want to pick them up just because they're unique, then you absolutely can, but I don't know why you would really want to. Wrenches are going to go up into the crafting tier because you can make these into weapon repair kits, so that's really good. Wrench does have a purpose. And then we have yeast down here, which you can also make into moonshine, which is really cool. And moonshine at least goes into crafting, so that's kind of nice. This last thing that I got, I don't know what it is. I'm trying to think. I don't think it's the Night Stalker blood, unless this was, and I don't know what the green one was then that I picked up. Yeah, I'm actually not too sure what the heck this red jar is, so let's just take the red jar and we'll put it up into the, we'll just put it up here into the money-making tier. If you find a red jar, there's a good chance it's either Centaur Blood or something else that's worth some amount of money. So this is all of the junk items in Fallout New Vegas. There's a lot of them. Tell me what you think about this list, how this list is right or wrong, depending on your preferences. I did leave out a lot of stuff on this list that is quest item specific, but that would have made the list probably 2 or 3 times as big as this if I had actually put all that on there too. So thanks everybody for watching this. I hope that you guys enjoyed the junk tier list. You guys asked for it for quite a while, funny enough, and I hope it turned out the way you wanted it to. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye, everybody.